All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Jimmy Flipping Deals. Thank you so much for joining me. Welcome back. Hope y'all are doing well. Hope things are going good for your stores and life in general, right? There have been some developments as far as the way things are going with my business. All good news. First, let me say that so I don't string you along. But for those that have been with me a while, know that a box truck or something similar is on the agenda in order to facilitate larger hauls. This car is only so big, and sometimes I can fill it up within a store or two, depending on what's available. And for those that are new, I buy and sell things that I find out in the world for a profit on places like eBay, Amazon, things like that. I am working on becoming a importer, which should help my goals along and make the facilitation and sourcing of product for my store a little easier and a little less labor intensive. But for the time being, a lot of the products that I sell, I buy at stores on clearance and liquidations and things of that nature. And oftentimes this car is not enough. In my efforts to share the journey with y'all, I have been looking at ways of being able to carry more, do more, stay out longer. Wasn't last week, but it was the week before. I would go out and whether it be in 2 hours or 12 hours, I would fill up the car, right? And then I would have to go home and empty it out and spend that time driving into the Metroplex and then out of the Metroplex, in order to do what needs to be done, right? And then the next day, I would do absolutely the same thing again. I would drive another hour into the Metroplex. I'd shop at whether it be 1 store, 2 stores, 12 stores, and then I would fill up to the brim. Oftentimes, before the day's even done, I would have to come back home to empty out. So I'd spend another hour and a half driving back just to do it again the next day. Long story short, that is wear and tear on the car. That is more than I want. It's gas that I don't want to spend with the constant back and forth. And the most important part of it, the time, right? And so a box truck or something similar is on the horizon, and it's unavoidable in order to to grow, right? It's like a non-negotiable. Now, a dream of mine like a decade ago, so cut me some slack, was getting this big old school bus, turning it into an RV, which I think is cool. Don't get me wrong. I think, for the price that you have invested, you could make one look really nice for $50,000 or $60,000, as opposed to one of those travel buses that are up in the millions, And I like the idea of those a lot better than an RV, because most RVs have that fiberglass roof, and at any price point that I can afford, the roof is going to be a huge concern because it's probably already 20 years old, right? So the metal bus sounds nice. Well, fast forward about 10 years, I'm no longer really interested in the motor home aspect of it, but I have kind of circled back around to school buses, because if you look at box trucks, they're most of the time they're 24 foot or less. Buses are up to 40 foot, like right there. That does it for me. And considering that most often they're cheaper than their truck counterpart, it makes it very enticing, right? So I have been looking. Matter of fact, I got on a group for Skoolies on Facebook. Skoolies, that's what they call them, in case you don't know. Now you know. But nevertheless, I got on a group, and I found a lady selling one in Ohio. And I contacted her. Like, the bus is 95% of what I want. The price is right where I want. It's probably a little bit under market value for the school bus I'm looking for. Matter of fact, I'm going to show you it here. And currently the inside was actually a mobile store of sorts. And although there are definitely going to be some changes up to and including a full gut, this is what it looks like now. And I believe that I can make this work for the time being without doing anything like this. This could start the process. So that's where I was at as of Friday. Today is Monday. So I'm sold. It's registered out of Kentucky. It's currently in Ohio, but it's registered in Kentucky below CDL requirements. They've taken the weight down from the 38,000 that it was designed for. They've already taken it down in their state to bare bones weight and had it registered at 19,000. Anything below 26,000, you can drive with a regular driver's license. So there's no immediate need to get the CDL in order to drive it, which I had feared. So that's like a big bonus. Now, long story short, the beautiful part of that is I do want the CDL. I do want the 38,000. The 38,000 will allow me to take my car with me, to take a trailer with me. I don't know exactly how long it is. What I think, roughly 35 foot, if the guesstimation holds true with the windows. Just a window is like 2.5 foot. So as you go up, right, I think there was 13 or 14 windows. So that's what, 28, 31 foot plus a little for everything else. So right at 35 foot, I think. But I called on insurance, right? Like that's the next step in order to, I checked on airfare, right? That's affordable. It's affordable like 2 weeks down the road, like insanely. Trips to Cleveland, I had two choices, either to Akron or to Cleveland. Akron is actually closer to where the bus is. Cleveland is about an hour away from the bus, but two different things. If I went into Akron, which is closer, apparently there are no direct flights, so it takes what is normally to Cleveland a 2.5 hour nonstop up to like a 15-hour or 16.5 hour trip on up to go into Akron, which is maybe a 20-minute drive or something from the bus. Not to mention, if I go to Akron, it's a $400 ticket if I'm like ready to go in the next few days. But if I go into Cleveland, which is a direct flight, it's like a 2.5 hour flight, and then the airfare is like $120. So either one, whether I went to Akron or went to Cleveland, I would need a rental car to get to the bus, right, to take a look at and everything else. So by flying into Cleveland and taking the hour drive, I save myself like, 11, 12 hours at least. And the rental car is basically paid for in the savings from going to Cleveland rather than to Akron. So that's a no-brainer. Now, if I schedule it like 2 weeks out, and I don't want to lose the deal, but literally you can fly one way, Dallas to Cleveland for $29. Like, it doesn't get any cheaper. Matter of fact, I don't know that there's anything to see in Cleveland, but if you're in Dallas and you want a very super cheap vacation, maybe you ought to consider Cleveland. But long story short, so I get the how worked out as far as transportation. How do I get up there? How do I get down to the bus? The buying the bus is not an issue, so I'm good there. I can drive the bus, right? So I'm good there. The only thing left is insurance, which has proven very, very difficult on day one. I was only at it one day. My first thought was to call my insurance company that I have for this car and be like, hey, I'm buying a bus, hook me up with some insurance. And they said, yeah, no. Well, at first I called the 800 number, and because I couldn't just add it to my policy, it didn't like the VIN. I called the guy, and it's Allstate Insurance, and I reached somebody that in all honesty, is in some call center in some third world country that barely speaks English, had a hard time communicating by text over the internet, and finally just told me, we don't insure buses. I wasn't sure he knew what he was talking about at all because of the level of communication that he had. But nevertheless, I said, well, okay. I did find on a older forum thread a number of a guy in the DFW, Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, and when I called an insurance agent that worked with these things, and when I called, it was Allstate again. I went, well, I may be spinning my wheels. There have been other mentions of other companies, and I forget the name, but something general was on my list to call, right? And when I called him, he said, well, actually, we own that company. As far as Allstate, we're not going to insure you. As far as this company, we may. He said it's a manual underwriting process. It's like real people looking at case-by-case basis. It'll take a few days to a week to get an answer back, but go ahead and send me pictures of the bus, all four sides and the inside, and we'll start the process. We'll see what happens. Well, in a desire to expedite things, I started calling around two other ones. I also have my motorcycle through State Farm, and I did not call my local broker there, but I called just a local one here in town, and apparently they're all separate with their own avenues for insurance. Like they're flying the State Farm flag, but it's not a blanket, we do this or we don't do this. It's literally like, well, I don't do this, which is what she told me. Because at first she was like, yes, we do commercial stuff, sure. I said, well, how about a motorhome? She said, well, right now it's commercial. We do commercial stuff. So yeah, probably. How many seats does it have in it? That's, well, maybe 4 at the moment. And she said, well, your options are 16 or 40. And I said, well, like 4. And she said, well, what happened to the seats? And I said, well, they've been removed. And she said, oh, well, then I can't touch you. Matter of fact, Progressive, I called them, and that's about the same as well, where they're interested until they found out that it's already been altered, right? So I'm kind of stuck. Matter of fact, Progressive was the closest because they said, sure, we'll do a school bus. Yes, it doesn't matter that it's right at 20 years old. It's a 04, I believe. So like less than 200,000 miles. It's got a Cat C7 engine, which typically lasts 500,000 to 600,000 miles, from what I understand. And nevertheless, like I'm in on it. It's got an Allison 3040 transmission, which is something that while I was looking for one for an RV, like this combination works. There's another engine, a 5.7, which is common, but it doesn't have near the pull strength. What's that? It's just glare. Looked like I had toothpaste or something in my beard. But nevertheless, so it's a good combination, right? Like I said, the GVWR gross whatever weight, anyway, gross vehicle weight, whatever, is like 38,000 pounds. So, nevertheless, like I want it, I need insurance. That was the end of the day Friday. Today is Monday, so the search continues. I was kind of cold calling companies to see where I fit in, and all I was getting was no, no, no. At the end of Friday, I realized, hey, I am doing this wrong, right? Like, I need focus, I need direction. I'm not the only one with a bus. There's a way they get insurance. How do you do it? So I decided that people are selling buses, and those people probably know where they got insurance. So I started reaching out to the people that were selling them, and I have gotten some numbers that way. So I'm going to start there today. That thought continued, so I went, well, I will join a Facebook community of schoolies, right, in order to get some information there. And sure enough, they are passing around agents' numbers and everything else. So I'm hopeful today that sometime within today, ideally, at any price at the moment, just to get insurance to get it home, that I can secure some insurance so I can book a flight and head up there and pick this bus up and really hope that it'll make it. She said it's a good bus, though. They were actually out driving it to get it scaled out to see how much it weighed, because I was wondering about that. And, apparently starts right up, drives, tires are good, still currently tagged and inspected. She's just going a different direction from her online store, and she's tired of pulling her hair out. Lucky for me, I don't have that issue anymore. I was tired of pulling my hair out, but as you can plainly see, I have none left. So I don't have that issue anymore. So hopefully I can get insurance for this monstrosity of a bus. I don't know why I like the word monstrosity, but it's like a monster. It's big, it's bad, and it's beautiful. I do intend on putting a little camp section in there to allow me and my dog the ability to go off into the cities, whether it be DFW, and hit every store that I want to while I'm there. I do plan on turning it into a second fulfillment. Goodness, give me just a second. A second fulfillment center, so I can actually turn my home store off and turn my mobile store on. And as when the day is done with the shopping and whatnot, when it hits 11 o'clock and I still have energy, then I can go ahead and catalog things. I have actually a way of putting them into my system straight out of the cart into the bus where they're already in my system. And from there, I can start selling them out of my mobile store and fulfilling them. And while I'm trying to fill up the store, I'm also emptying out the store. So it could work out to where that allows me to stay out longer and buy more stuff and make money while I'm buying more stuff, hours away from home. So that's definitely a look into the future for me. I'll let you know how that goes. Short of that, I hope y'all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you on the next one, all right? Bye.